So today, I'm going to talk about some of the impacts from the eBay fall update that impacted the postcard selling on eBay. Now, I didn't have a lot of problems, but I'm going to go through some of the things that I see so far. And if you see anything that I missed, put it in the comments so other people can see it as well. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to do a little recap on my thoughts and stuff. This is not about defending eBay for rolling out something that has issues. Now, my IT background, I've been doing IT, a long time. There's always some type of issues. But you always want to minimize the impact and communicate to your users as much as possible. I think there's some growth there that they need to work on that. Not everything's going to be 100%, but that's the goal. Any project, any rollout should be 100%. Anything less than that is an impact, and it's going to impact multiple people's, even with a site like eBay, which is just absolutely huge. A small pebble in a pond is going to have ripples everywhere. And they shouldn't be doing this in fourth quarter. Everybody's focused on sales and stuff like that, and that's where their head's down, and now they got to deal with this stuff. So I understand the frustration, and I feel bad for a lot of the categories that got impacted more than what I've been impacted by. And it's still fresh, so could be more impacts coming. But what I've seen since it rolled out, my sales have been about the same. I haven't seen an increase or a decrease. I did notice that standard envelope, eBay standard envelope, was not an option on the first day when it rolled out, but it looks like it's there now. I haven't shipped any today, but it looks like it's there now. Buyer searching is messed up for postcards. The buyer pages for searching, you click on it and stuff's not there. I'm going to show you that in a minute. A couple screenshots. I wasn't able to do a promoted listing when I listed a postcard on the first day of the rollout, but it looks like it's there now, and I'll be doing some more later, so I'll see if that's still working. But that was another issue. And then I got a ton of recommended item specifics popped up, and they just keep growing and growing and growing. Now these are just recommended, and as I talk about later at the end of this video, I'm prioritizing those at a lower level because they're recommended. I haven't had any required item specifics pop up. And my store was pretty well clean with 25,000, 26,000 listings in there. I didn't have much in there when it rolled out. But I got about 8,000 or more recommended item specifics. And I'll just work through those when I can. Also, while they were doing this, before the rollout, the HIP integration, HIP Postcard is a site that I use that uses the API between eBay and HIP to synchronize cards and sales. That was broke for a couple weeks. So this rollout actually, I think, affected that. But that's about really all the impact so far with me on there. But I know I'm getting a lot of emails, a lot of people saying some other things. But how did it impact postcards? So first, the biggest thing is they removed all the categories from postcards except for 3. And they have these 3 categories now under postcards. It's topographical postcards, non-topographical, postcard supplies and accessories, and price guides and publications. That is the only thing under postcards. Then I went out and did a search. I just want to see how many topographical out there and non-topographical. After they did a rollout, 6.7 million of the postcards went into topographical and 1.4 million went into non-topographical. So I went into each one to see if I could find out really what do they mean by topographical. I'm going to show you the definition I got from Webster and what it is. I get a lot of questions. What do they mean by this? It's a mixture right now. It's just like eBay. People put stuff in wrong categories and stuff. When you got that many people doing data entry and it's listing, you're going to have, unless you have one person listing everything on eBay, you're going to have these variations. So 6.7 million in topographical, 1.4 million in non-topographical. I didn't check the postcard supplies or anything like that. But what do they mean by topographical? That's probably the #1 question I'm getting. And I keep just cutting and pasting and sending this back to people. This is from Webster. I couldn't find anything on eBay to really explain too much. There is some stuff there, but about the same. So topographical. Dealing with or depicting places, especially towns, buildings, and natural prospects in a realistic and detailed manner. So if it's about towns, roads, and stuff like that, that's where people are going to put in there. Non-topographical would probably be like a rock or a bush, stuff like that. But that's what they mean by topographical. And if it doesn't fit there, then it's non-topographical. You got a 50-50 chance of where they're going. But the buyer search is messed up. I went out there as a buyer just to see what it looked like. And here's the screen when I brought postcards up. It comes up and it shows across the top, other collectible postcards, which is not a category anymore. International cities and towns, not a category. That's still there. If I click on one of those, a couple times I got in page not found. So they're still working on this part of it from a buyer standpoint. Now I went a little bit further and I clicked on a couple other screens and I found one that said region. And that's one of the item specifics that's still there. And that's where the states are now, is what I found. I could be wrong, but that's where I see all the states, Montana, Illinois, Pennsylvania. So I clicked on Florida, and this is what I got. So that is working. Region is probably one of the biggest item specifics that I wrote down to make sure that I'm putting in there what state goes there. And that they showed all Florida cards when I did that. I didn't get a page not found, but the buyer search is messed up still. They need to work on that. The item specifics that I see popped up, one of them is called Circulated. And a little help question mark button said whether the product has been circulated. Yeah, these postcards are circulated. They're out. They were out in circulation. I'm selling them. They're I guess it's new and used. I'm not for sure what they mean by that. I even looked at the Webster definition for that. So I clicked it yes. If someone can tell me in the comments what I should be clicking for circulated on a postcard, let me know. Country is in there. These are some of the ones that I've seen that I'll probably fill out. Country, USA, UK, Ireland. Then the region. I think the region is going to be an important one. And that's where I see in the spreadsheet when I download these is all the states is in the region. So if it's USA, I'm going to put the state in there. Then they have another one, unit of sale. I guess for bulk sellers or whatever in there. Material. Let's see. Cardboard, cardstock. But there could be plastic postcards, I guess. But, in my template, I just click cardboard. I don't think it's required. None of these things have been required so far. Maybe a few of them, but I haven't seen it. Now, the one I liked was size. And it shows standard and the different things like that. So that one I don't have a problem with. So when I list a postcard, I have a lot of them filled out in my template because I use a template to do new postcards. And I just pick what's anything different. I'll just go change that or add anything that's relevant as I list that postcard. And I'll see if I can get the little blue circle to go. But it's probably going to take me a week or so of listing to really figure out how all of these are going to affect on there. And with 8,000 and growing recommended item specifics, I might download and do 50 a day and just knock it out. As long as they're recommended, I'm not that worried about it. But if required pops in, then I'll have to go take care of those. Now, one of the things this brings to mind, and I've been on the fence about this, I've talked to a lot of people about cross-posting their items on other sites. So say I'm selling a hot dog here and I want to show it on 3 other sites. Well, there's software and there's applications that do that. I don't do that. I do it with HIP and eBay because HIP is a very low volume. I don't sell as much there, and the cost. I do make more money on HIP when I do sell, but the volume's not there, so it's not that big of a deal. Even when it was broke for a couple weeks, I was able to manually keep up with that. No problem at all. Something sells, I just go over there. And if it got to be too much, I'll just turn HIP down until they fix the sync. And HIP is a pretty good company, so I have, no problem that they're going to fix it, but I think they were waiting on eBay's side. But cross-posting, you want to be careful. An impact like eBay just did, one update can cause impacts across all your sites, all your business. So you want to be careful. What is the pros of cross-posting? The item gets seen by more buyers, possible increased sales. You're not on all one platform, all your eggs in the same basket. But the cons of cross-posting, of syncing your items across other sites. Now you got to focus on all the different sites that you have your item at. You have to learn that platform. If they make an update, you got to understand that. You got to watch this information there. So your focus is now spread out around there. And I've always said, I can do a couple things very well. I can do a lot of things well. So what if I focus just on 2 or 3 things? Can I do it better and not worry about that? That's my thinking. Item syncing. Any link in that chain could break or have one change like eBay just did. That change affected Hip Postcard. It's the only sync I used. But what if it was bigger across other items, which I'm sure it hit pots and pans or plates or pottery and stuff like that? All of those things are broke probably. Those categories are no longer there. So all that programming, unless they're using the top level in there, it's broken, so they got to fix that. So now you got things all over the place. I'm going to show you here in a second a couple little slides to help with this analogy. Loss of control, another con. You have no control over the syncing. The application changes on their sites. eBay makes a change. Another major site makes a change. You have no control. They can make a change without even telling you. Or there could be a change on your computer. You can get an update from Windows or Apple that affects one of the APIs. It'll affect the whole chain, and you're going to see that. So these types of updates, they need to be more thought out by these companies and communicated. So these other companies need to communicate as well. What I mean by this, I'm going to use the hot dog cart analogy here. It was about one of the icons that I thought was pretty easy to use. I just kind of threw this together to visualize what I'm talking about being careful with cross-posting. So say currently you cross-post on 5 different sites. Now that's probably excessive for some, but I've seen people trying to do that. So you got your hot dog stand on the left. Let's say that's eBay. And then you get your software in the middle. There's multiple softwares out there, apps. And that's going to take the items from eBay. And it's going to sync. When you list it, it'll put it on all your other sites with your pictures, the whole works. And then when an item sells on eBay, it'll tell the other sites to take it down. Or if it sells on one of the other sites, it tells it to take it down, and the app takes it down on all the other sites, supposedly. So that's how it works in a perfect world. Nobody making changes, status quo, everything's just fine. Now, with this one, any change at any site, so just like eBay took the postcard categories away, it affected Hip. Now, if I posted my stuff on Bonanza or another postcard site and they looked at categories, it would have been broke there as well. What does that mean? It means if you have widget A on 5 sites and your synchronization is broke on site number 3 and it's sold, that site is not going to be able to tell the other sites it's sold, and it could sell again, and then again, and again. You have to manually go over and watch and manage this. That's what I'm talking about, your focus. So you got to make sure you understand all the sites around there. One change somewhere, if it's not syncing, how do you check that? What is your checks to make sure it is syncing across all those sites? And some sites don't have that bad of an issue with defects, but if you sell something out of stock on eBay, that's a defect. You can only get so many of those, and then your account gets in jeopardy. So that's what I'm talking about, using so many sites, and one piece in the chain could break. It could affect all sites. Even the application that you use. There's multiple applications. I'm on Facebook groups with a lot of these main multi-applications lately just to see how many issues. And I'll tell you what, I would not bank my business on any of those applications. Some are built using an API, application programming interface, between everything and the development partnership they have with different groups. Others are just using plain old Excel and macros. Macros are just basically keystrokes that are mimicked by the software. And are these companies got a support line? Are they going to communicate out the things? But all these applications out there that are syncing all this information out, some people say they only work 85-90% of the time. That's not good enough for me. I want 100% to know that I don't need to look at this and it's working. HIP and eBay, for years, I never worried about it. I did my test. I checked every once in a while. I trusted it. It was solid. I could call HIP. I could call, and everything was fine until this last hiccup. And now it's back working. No problem, but it's only one site. I don't have to talk to everybody. So a lot of this application software, are they keeping it up? Now, what if Windows 11 comes out and somebody updates their computer? Are they supported on Windows 11? You got to go check that out. On a Mac, the new iOS 15, is it supported? Does it work on my phone? Or this feature here? You got all your focus around on cross-posting. And I don't want to degrade cross-posting. I think it's working well for a lot of people. I'm just looking at it from a focus standpoint. Now, a lot of people say they were in IT. They're an IT person. I've worked in IT over 30 years. I have the background to see this type of these are the types of things I used to manage and roll out in these upgrades. And you will have problems. Regression testing tests some things, but nowadays a lot of companies are testing what they can and pushing out and fix later. That's the mentality that's been in the field. So now, what I do, and my model is, not saying that the other model's not working, it just takes a lot more time, a lot more energy, is I'm a single site person. And this right here shows each site is separately managed. Each site doesn't talk to the other site. The only one I said I use is HIP and eBay. And I would stop that in a second if there was a major problem, or if they were both high volume sites. But each one has a wall. So one doesn't affect the other. So if there was an issue like this eBay rollout on this one site, it's not going to affect the other 4 sites. Now, it will affect me because my sales will drop on that one site, but I don't have to race around. So if site 1 has a problem, like in this picture here, those other sites are fine. I can sleep well not worrying about if this is sold on one site, I got to take it down on another. That's what I like, is the peace of mind, knowing that I have control. This model here, I have 100% control on those types of things on each site. Now, I don't have control of the site changes, but I have control of how it affects my time and my business. So to me, is cross-posting a fad like bell-bottom jeans, or is it something that's going to get better and they can give you a better dashboard on how things are going on there? They would have to give me some kind of super screen to say, hey, I took this down here, I took it here, it's verified on there. So like I said, I wanted to do a recap of my thoughts about all this technology and these types of rollouts. Number one, and what can you do? What can I do, basically? My thoughts here. Don't get caught up in the drama. A lot of people get out there, they're going to leave eBay, they're going to stop selling, and don't get caught up in all that. Think it through. What do you have control of? These are big companies. They're going to keep marching forward. It's not going to stop. It's going to continue. So how are you going to deal with this? So don't get caught up in the drama and stuff like that. Focus on your business and impacts. Prioritize the impact. So my problem was it wasn't going to affect my sales. It didn't affect that, so that was the top priority, money coming in. The next thing was, I think there were some billing issues too, is keeping track of those. So money, revenue is probably the top priority. 2 is, did all my listings stay there? Yeah, all my listings and pictures and stuff, they're still there. I did a few checks. But the other impacts, recommended item specifics, I'm not that worried about those. I'll get through those in the next month or two. The other things, not being able to promote postcards, I'm sure they'll fix that. That's money for them, so I figure that's high on their thing. Using standard envelope, I'm sure that was a miss, and it would probably come back. A lot of people use it now. So just have to wait it out a little bit. So my priority right now is just monitoring, making sure things are working, answering customers' questions, and maintaining my business. Not getting caught up in the drama. Now, I did put a support case in just to make sure they have record that I had issues with the eBay standard envelope and stuff, so I can always reference that if I need to get something take off. So you always want to, send eBay for business or get a ticket opened up with eBay and document that you had an issue, so they can go back and rectify it. You can use that as a history saying I've had issues. Figure out how to reduce the impacts in the future. Learn. Everybody needs to learn. Every time there was a problem, we had we always talked about how we'll make sure it doesn't happen in the future. I'm reducing my cross-listing. I don't trust these other companies to communicate to me the changes, and that they have a real partnership with these applications that are doing this. At the level they have a partner program on there. I don't feel comfortable. With my background, I understand how all that works. And I don't see best practices being used at that level of just application development, regression testing. They need to go back to the basics at least, and they can reduce a lot of this. Have an emergency fund set aside that you can weather some of these changes. I mean, if eBay it was worse than this, then you can float through these things. It will happen. It's not if it will happen, it's when and how bad. So you want to be prepared. And if the sky's not falling, people are still buying. I'm still selling postcards. Figure in acceptable losses. You're going to have internet down sometime with a storm. You're going to have power loss on there. You're going to have a problem at home. You could have a flood. What is your acceptable losses that you can put into your margin and not stop people from buying your stuff? 3% on every item? 1%? Have $1,000 set to the side, $500 just in case for an emergency to get you through a couple days. $10,000 if you're a big. Figure out what is an acceptable loss to you. Be proactive in learning of changes and possible impacts. Make sure you're watching the announcements coming out from these companies, the release notes. How's it going to impact? Take the time to do that. The 15 minutes it takes to read a release note or changes will save you hours and days and weeks and months of work by being proactive. And stop using and selling on poorly run sites or very slow sites that are not maintained, or the applications are what we call cottage applications that doesn't follow best practice, piggybacks off other stuff, and not independently supported. Now that's a last resort. I heard a lot of people say, I want to leave eBay, I'm going to do this. That to me is a last resort. Let's see how this rolls out. If it continues, then you need to put your eggs in some other baskets as well. But if this puts you over the edge, there's no pulling you back. You're gone. But eBay is one of the top sites. It does get a lot of traffic. There is a lot of benefits to it, but how they do some of these things is in question. But don't use poor software. If that software, they're charging you for that software, and they have no support, or it doesn't work half the time, or it's working 70%, that is not software. That is not shelf-ready software. I don't use that. I don't go out and purchase that. I always do the trials to do it. Also, another thing, never sign up for beta test, alpha or beta testing. If you have a business, you have no acceptable loss by being a beta tester or something. If a company came to me all the years I was a manager in IT and said, I want you to beta test something, I'd just shut the door. Don't even talk to me. And I never purchased products from a major software. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars. The first question I had most of the time when I talked to these vendors how many major releases a year do you have? One vendor told me they have about 12 once a month. I didn't even talk to them. I don't have the time, the people to go through everything they change every month. So most companies do 1 or 2 releases a year, or 1 every 2 years. Those are the companies I want. They put bug fixes out, but they do major releases only so many times because it takes so much resources and time, and it breaks so much stuff that it has to be tested. But I thought I would do this video because I'm getting a lot of comments about it. It's just my thoughts on eBay's fall update. I think Postcards will be fine. I wish they would have done more with the categories. It is what it is. I don't have no control there. So I'm going to make the best of it I can, prioritize my impacts, see what I think it's going to add a little bit to my listing time, but I got to figure that out. So, but there's no sense of me taking that energy and getting all caught up in the drama. I'm going to focus on my store and see what I need to do. But right now, every day is changing. I'm seeing things popping up working again and changes here and there. So I think we need to let it settle down a little bit and see what we got left over after the storm goes through, see what the damage is. But it will happen again. They will make changes. So they're going on some path, but it is what it is. But I appreciate you watching. If you got any comments about this or have been impacted, put it in the comments below so everybody in the community can see that. Talk to you later.